Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1, followed by the word Spot Media. We begin with the latest on Hurricane Irma. The death toll from Irma increased to 10 this morning. The Category 5 hurricane has kept sustained winds of 180 miles per hour, longer than any other on record. The hurricane has also knocked out electricity to more than 1 million citizens of Puerto Rico. The storm churned off the U.S. territory and devastated smaller islands, including Barbuda and the British Virgin Islands.
This is crazy. All vehicles on Tortola are actually damaged. Every one of them actually damaged. Apartments gone. Vehicles gone. I don't think nobody have vehicles to drive today.
Irma left severe destruction across a string of Caribbean islands to the east. This morning, Irma's powerful core was moving off the mountainous northern coast of the Dominican Republic and Haiti and could leave up to 15 inches of rain that could trigger dangerous flooding and mudslides within the island. Irma could next hit the Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas and may reach Florida mainland by Friday. News back home, visitation rights have been revoked for prisoners at the Greater Portmore Police lockup. The revocation is reportedly due to lawmen finding contraband in prison cells. A family member who arrived at the lockup voiced her concern.
The budget alone is not providing.
And we do apologize for that wrong insert. The People's National Party, PNP, yesterday launched what it's calling an education and training re-imaging program it says will help rejuvenate Jamaica's school system should the party form the next government. The commission, chaired by education expert Elaine Foster-Allen, provides a platform for dialogue around policies and framework to transform the education and the training system at every level. PNP President Dr. Peter Phillips says it's part of the party's effort to bridge the gap it sees in the education system.
That is necessary to provide a first-rate education. If we don't find a way to pay for the first-rate education, then we are in effect going to be reproducing a kind of system that we have sought to leave, where those who have money will be able to get a first-rate education for their children, and those who don't will be left behind.
And we go back to a previous story where visitation rights have been revoked for prisoners at the Greater Portmore lockup. The revocation is reportedly due to lawmen finding contraband in prison cells. A family member who arrived at the lockup voiced her concern.
Over by 100 man, they're not taking about 20 visit for any inmate. Them say them not forget no visit, and some of them not get visit like 3 months now, 4 months, and so I think that's bad because they're all human.
Another family member said she doesn't understand why jailers are refusing to take all the food which family members carry for their loved ones.
They don't want to take the things them. They take, sometimes you bring 2 bun, they take 1. The biscuits, most of it, they have most of it going home back within my bag. Most of it in my bag going home with back. They don't take them. They just take a few things and they tell me that is okay. That is not okay. It can't be okay. They're in there, they need stuff. They need their stuff. See them there? See them there, they don't take them. See there? Almost the bag of things that I bring, they send it back. They just take the water, they take the juice and the soap. They don't want to take the things them. And talking to them about no, I can't take anymore, I can't take anymore. Why they don't want to take it?
Howard Wright told TVJ News that he believes the police acted after a phone was discovered in one of the cells. Several primary and basic schools in Port Antonio, Portland benefited from donations during the first week of the new school year. The schools received donations to assist in purchasing fans and other well-needed supplies from the councillor of the St. Margaret's Bay Division, Stephen Williams.
Happy for the donation because we're all sweating, and so I feel it so much for the students, especially the grades 5 and 6 who are housed in one classroom. We definitely need fans, and I'm sure that this money will go a far way, sir. Hoping that Corporate Jamaica will come on board and help us to get the other fans.
Councillor Williams pointed out that the donation was made to give the children an environment that's more conducive to learning. Amid opposition from motorists to the proposed hike in the toll on the North-South Highway, the September 9 increase has been put on hold. Following a meeting on Tuesday with Transport Minister Mike Henry and the operators of the highway, it was agreed to withhold the increase for the rest of this year.
There is going to be a consideration of the request we've made and an adjustment and implementation of the toll that will become effective in January, whatever is the final figures.
Also coming out of Tuesday's meeting with the operators, some toll rates will be rounded to the nearest $50 or $100. This means that some motorists will pay less. For example, motorists using the Cayman to Angel's leg were faced with an increase when the figures were last rounded due to a coin shortage. They will now pay less. Members of the local petroleum retail trade have raised questions about today's hike in fuel prices. Consumers are to see the biggest increase in petrol prices in 6 months as they continue to reel from the impact of Hurricane Harvey on affected refineries in the U.S. Gulf Coast. Gasoline prices will rise by $3.41. President of the Jamaica Gasoline Retailers Association, Philip Chung, says the sharp increase is unwarranted. He is also worried about the impact on petrol sales and says Petrojam should provide an explanation.
Of the price of the gas. You know, I can't see the spot market increasing by this much, even with the advent of the hurricane, the pending hurricane going into the Gulf. It's already determined it's not going into the Gulf. You know, I don't know Florida is an oil-producing state, so really can't see how, and by what logic, by what previous reasoning of how the price of the gasoline, that this high increase can be attributed to this hurricane.
The Health Ministry is raising concerns about the improper usage of pesticides and the associated health risks. Speaking at a recent JIS think tank session, Minister of Health Dr. Christopher Tufton said even though the usage of pesticides provides several benefits to the society and citizens, it also poses several challenges if used improperly. He stated that there have been cases where persons who have been exposed adversely to the chemicals because of misuse were poisoned.
I've seen show that on average about 40 persons a year are affected adversely because of the inappropriate application of that particular pest control substance.
Meanwhile, the health minister has confirmed that repairs to the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James are far advanced. Nurses at the hospital fell ill earlier this year after noxious fumes seeped from the vents into some of the wards. Following investigations carried out by the Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, it was discovered that the fumes were the result of fiberglass particles from the ventilation system becoming loose after being disturbed by efforts to clean the vent. Speaking at a JIS think tank on Tuesday, Dr. Tufton stated the rehabilitation project is well underway.
Out of the main building while maintaining the services.
He says the rehabilitation will focus on 3 major components and should be completed by the first quarter of 2018.
I think for the most part we're on track. We did say to the public that we would have most of the issues solved by the first quarter of next year. And I think we are moving ahead with that. Give or take, you know, there's always a margin of error, so there may be a month or so over, but I would think that most of the issues would have been addressed and will be back up and running by the first quarter of next year.
And we go now to sports. The Premier League's Club Association has made a proposal to the Jamaica Football Federation as they look forward to facilitate the start of the Red Stripe Premier League.
The start of the 2017-2018 Red Stripe Premier League should have already been in the history books had it not been for a stop order placed on the league by the JFF. The move by the JFF came as a result of monies owed to the referees and Montego Bay United by the PFAJ and the PLCA. The PLCA has since made steps to solve the current impasse. A release from the PLCA stated that they have since forwarded the JFF the entire outstanding sum due to the referees and their assessors after this sum was duly reconciled with both bodies. And they have also written to the JFF proposing a workable proposal to resolve the MBU issue, a proposal they say they cannot disclose until it is discussed by the parties. But TVJ Sports understand that the proposal made by the PLCA to the JFF is for both parties to put up 50% of the over $3 million owed to Mobay United. The other 50% they proposed should be the responsibility of Mobay United. And they have also asked the JFF to lift the postponement so that the league can start on Sunday, September 17, 2017. In closing, the PLCA said 6 days ago they made a written request to the JFF for a meeting to discuss and resolve the relevant issues, but to date the PLCA has not received a response. The JFF will meet on September 16 to elect a new president. Jermaine Brown reporting for TVJ Sports.
Meanwhile, head coach at the MVP Track and Field Club, Stephen Francis, is hoping that future World Championships will be held in better conditions than those experienced at last month's event in London. Jordan Fort reports.
Jamaica's athletes had their lowest medal haul in 30 years at the London World Championships, taking home only 4 medals. And the MVP head coach was all too happy to get out of the British capital, as not even his Olympic double sprint champion Elaine Thompson was able to climb the podium.
It's difficult. You know, there are a number of factors which made it difficult. You know, a lot of the events, especially in the power events, you could easily predict who was going to win based on where they live or train. You know, it was extremely cold, and you know, it's easy to compete there once if it's a one-off, but when it's there day after day after day, then yeah. But I mean, you learn, and you hopefully we won't have another situation like that until they decide to bring it back to London, and then you know we'll see where it goes from here on.
But not even Francis could pinpoint a single factor which caused Thompson to suffer a shock 5th place finish in London.
Well, I mean, there's no specific reason. You know, sometimes you know the athletes don't perform like you expect them to. You know, this year was one of those years, and you know, you have to go, you analyze, you search for reasons, and then you try and correct what you found.
There was consolation for Francis and his charges, however, with the likes of Julian Fort and Ronald Levy producing big personal best efforts during the season.
I wouldn't say it was a good season, but I'd say that at the end, the personal best of 991 was some consolation. So it was a season filled with ups and downs, some injuries here and there too. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just have to take it for what it is and try to see if I can have a stronger season next year.
I would say it's good because I actually finished a season so far, and even though the championship wasn't as it was expected of me, came out of it and said it's a good experience. So I'm looking forward to next season.
And Coach Francis agrees that the season was not a total failure from an MVP perspective.
There are consolations. I mean, you have a long season with different objectives, and you know, sometimes you may not achieve the major one, but you have others which were on the agenda, and so I think, I mean, it was not a total loss. I mean, there were some bright points, but you know, you just have to say, okay, let us see if we can better this the next time around.
Jordan Fort, TVJ Sports.
And that wraps up the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.